And Nancy wrote in the following question. My knockout roses, the leaves are spotty brown and are lacy looking with holes. What causes it? How can I treat it? And is there any way to prevent this? She says, I applied Bayer for roses about 2.5 weeks ago.
Well, compliment her for using a right product, but not the only product. And then nothing is perfect. Now Bayer has developed a number of products, as have others, that are exceedingly good. However, many times the insect, most of the time, as a matter of fact, the insect has to bite into a leaf and do some little bit of damage. Then it goes off and dies. In the meantime, there's a hole in the leaf. So let's just not change anything she's doing as far as product is concerned. Let's just go with perhaps a little better understanding of nature. As I mentioned, some things eat and die, but they still have left a hole. Now, there's another thing, and it's kind of crazy because I don't suspect this to be the case, at least not too likely. But we had some late frost, spotty late frost, if you will. At the time, leaves were no bigger than 1/8 of an inch tall. They hadn't even unfurled. We could barely tell the bud was opening. Those buds froze. In that freezing process, 1 or 2 cells, which at that point are smaller than the point of a pin that is, are injured. They're frost burned. Then when the leaf opens up, this hole expands as the leaf expands. That is one of the possibilities, because there has been a great deal of that. I don't know that that would be the case on her roses, but it's certainly a possibility. Now, we're heading into grasshopper time and other chewing insects that hop on, do their thing, hop off, and so on. If you can put down or use, for example, the Bayer product, which is an internalized material, and then you can put on a topical spray, and I don't often recommend doubling up, but if it becomes a nasty enough problem, it's something to consider. You can double up with a walk-on, if you will, an insecticide that you put on the leaf that as soon as the insect steps down on it, it's contracted and internalized into their, various body parts, and they're killed. You might slow the process down in that way. Now, very recently, there has been a run of things called pear slugs, rose slugs, and many people's hollyhocks are laced up because these little slug-like creatures. Now, this is not a ground snail. This is the larval stage and instar of other insects that is on. It's usually on the bottom side of the leaf. You don't see it till you see the holes. Yeah. And they can eat like tigers. If you don't look for 24 hours, 48 hours, they can already have laced up a leaf. Mm-hmm. Well, that may be what it was. So any of those things, without seeing it in the lab or what have you, and quite often an email picture does not do the job, you have to go out there, look under, look over. Sometimes you have to go out at 2 o'clock in the morning with a flashlight, and I'm quite serious about that. So I hope these 4 things will help. Now, the other thing, if the damage is way less than 50% of a leaf, then the health of the plant won't be affected. Mm-hmm. Now, it affects the eyeball of the viewer. Just back up 4 strides. I say that advisedly. I have been almost hit over the head with an umbrella one time when I told a lady this. I asked you for a real opinion. I said, I just gave you one. Well, anyhow, aside from that discussion, Mother Nature is tricky, and the creatures within. Each has its own habits, and without seeing the plant, that's 4 things to consider. It could be others, but I would tell her that the odds on the roses being harmed too badly is pretty remote. But do water. Water only in the morning on roses. Now, if it rains in the evening, you can't do a thing about it. But if you're watering with intent, like we've talked about, long time period, 6 a.m. is certainly not too early. 4 a.m. is not too early if you happen to be up. Some few people in the news business are up at that hour, but most of us regular citizens, it'll be 6 or after. But get your spraying done of any insecticide, pesticide, fungicide, and your watering done, hopefully before 10 in the morning, so that the plant can dry down and or it's not hot enough to burn when you apply these various things, including water.